Moving on, like Mr. Lamba said earlier today, India is known for its heritage. Yes, for sure. And next I'm going to call upon somebody who truly takes passion in what he's going to present, clubbing India's heritage with that of the modern times, taking clues from the traditional. Let's put our hands together as I invite on stage our chief guest of the day, Mr. Karan Grover, founder Karan Grover and Associates. He has single-handedly won India's nomination for UNESCO's World Heritage Site status for Champaner Pavadka in 2004 after a 22-year-long old campaign. Let's also put our hands together for a man who in 2004 was the first Indian to win the USGBC Platinum Award for the greenest building in the world, the CII Saurabh Godrej Green Business Center. Let's put our hands together for a chief guest who I've ever seen is the most punctual out of us all. Let's welcome on stage Mr. Grover.
Thank you, Economic Times. Thank you, Somani. Thank you to all of you who are here this morning. I have been given a topic which I have felt for a long time but never really spoken about, and that is heritage, India's best brand. Redefining culture, respecting tradition, and rebranding timelessness. Rahul, your word. A brand, in a traditional sense, signifies more than an association with a product. In many ways, the brand is the product. When we see a well-known logo, we think of the products that are synonymous with it. So therefore, when you see the Apple logo, you associate it with the iPad, the iPhone, and innovation, and we fail to remember that the Apple logo itself is the forbidden fruit that Eve stole and gave to Adam. Starbucks uses the siren from Greek mythology. Today we are here to discuss a country that is more than 5,500 years old, at least. India today is a wealth of knowledge and experience. Our culture extends back so far that we are constantly rewriting our history through rediscovering our past. Within this melting pot of tradition and values, and this is a word I'm going to keep coming back to, values, we discover just how much we can learn from our culture and heritage. That is what defines you, and that is what defines me. That is our DNA. Lessons that can honor our past and rebrand our future. Robert Peters has said, design creates culture, culture shapes values, values determine the future, not architecture, values of the architecture that you are going to build. This building has already been shown, and we are always using the term timelessness, and thank you, Rahul, once again for that word. It's easy to throw it around. It's easy to say that a building is revered because it's so timeless. But what does timeless actually mean in terms of all the design decisions and physical results involved with a building? Timeless design is relevant for several generations. It, as Dikshu said, outlasts trends, fashion statements, and society's infatuation with style. It is made of materials and methods that will last a century or more. With respect to India, what is pretty much known by now is that our knowledge systems are a sum total of a wide range of pursuits, vastly differing convictions, widely divergent customs and languages, and a veritable feast of viewpoints. What is always apparent, not always apparent, however, that there is a definite connection to the fact that we have survived the ravages of outside invasions and of time. Design and culture have always been closely interrelated. But in many instances, design is flaunted as the true measure of culture rather than belonging to part of the cultural context of society. Design has become the embodiment of a larger process of creative culture mongering that has become a means to capture innovation and enterprise and made to stand for cultural identity. Design has become synonymous with the labeling of culture, designed culture, which now represents both the emblem of prosperity and is considered a viable means to legitimize areas of urban regeneration in order to gain international recognition as well as mediating for social change. Traditionally, culture is referred to as a pattern that signifies human activity and which is manifested by the arts, music, sculpture, theatre, dance, film, fashion, design, food, and architecture. Contemporary popular culture also includes the internet, entertainment, and the culture of celebrity as part of a range of cultural signifiers. But in the wider ethnographic sense, culture, particularly our culture, embraces complex ways of living, value systems, traditions, beliefs, and habits, including knowledge, morals, law, and customs acquired by those within that society. These provide for a set of cultural objects which symbolize a shared schematic experience and which we recognize as having cultural value. Therefore, culture, in the classical sense, was considered distinguishable and distinctive, and by definition represented the ethos of a civilization. It was celebrated by the quality of its sophistication, beliefs, and level of enlightenment. Customs and practices were informed by the arts and identified a particular place, class, time, or a set of specific attitudes of a group. As you can see this image and the Ganesh festival which has just concluded, particularly in Bombay. So like a biological culture, it was nutrient rich and diverse in its concentration of medium. And Frank Lloyd Wright has said that the lack of culture means what is always meant, ignoble civilization and therefore imminent downfall. We designed in our country in the manner of aesthetic function, in a collective approach that followed the traditions of our society and the morals of our people. Our clothing was simple but vibrant and sophisticated. Our buildings were reminiscent yet functional. And our interiors, although old-fashioned, spoke to us in a resilient, refined manner. This style has brought out the character of our cities, homes, and our lives, and has accentuated the heritage of our cultural design. As this nation moves into the future, as has been said by the speakers before me, towards its 100 smart cities, we can still see these time-tested designs present in our everyday lives. Modern designers, to suit our modern palettes, have redeveloped many of them, but the essence of their simplicity and the longevity of their history echoes through them through eternity, and to use the word that Dikshu and Rahul have been using, timelessness. And although we are influenced by other cultures, we still gravitate towards a sense of the traditional, and the circular progression of this phenomenon can easily be seen. As our design trends become more and more flamboyant, they instill within us a want to return to simpler designs And as our designs simplify, the simplistic, we find ourselves looking again for more ostentatious designs. Modern designers understand our traditions, but also our modern personalities, and in many ways fuse the community-centric ways of our past with the designer's social-centric ways of our future. You know, in the mid-50s, Charles and Ray Eames were invited by our Prime Minister and were commissioned to make a vision statement for the NID, the National School of Design in Ahmedabad, which is the birth of the idea of Brand India. Charles Eames said that the lota and the matka, which the Indians used to store water, were absolutely incredible designer objects. It was a sculptural object of extreme practicality, and the purpose of a lota cannot be mistaken. It is not the product of an individual design intention, but it is the parampara, or the continuing of tradition of many generations of intention. And what interested Charles and Ray Eames was the process that resulted in the lota. For him it symbolized a necessary contemporary attitude. And he said that will appraise and solve the problems of our coming times with the same tremendous service, dignity and love that the lota served its time. And I think this is what we must remember, that when we brand heritage and our parampara, we must include the dignity and love that it has served through its time. I had the advantage of interacting with this very well-known designer, Michael Foley, and he designed the Queen's Baton for the Commonwealth Games. He wanted to explore the idea of India, and he was confused whether he should use color, whether he could use motives, or what should be the design story. And then in the end, he said he was going to use the soil of India, and he chose these 7 soils of India and actually laminated it on the Olympic torch. And the torch was very clever. He left a gap between each of the lamination, and this was connected to the GSM, so that whenever you ran in a country, the colors of the flag appeared in between these incredible sands. Then what happened? He was told that the Queen wanted to give a message, and he thought the Queen would say good luck, sport fairly or whatever it was, and the Queen sent a message of 300 words. And these 300 words had to be in the baton. So what he did, he made a jewelry box, and he took a leaf, and with that idea of miniaturization of writing, actually wrote that 300 worded message in the leaf, in the jewelry box on top of the baton. And ultimately, the baton was presented by Pratibha Patil to the Queen in this journey which went across. He was then asked to do the F1 Cup. And he thought that whenever you won a cup, you held the cup up like this, like I'm holding. So he put the name of the cup at the bottom of the cup, which you normally never do. He used the idea of the victory arch as symbolic. And this cup is in silver. But when you actually look into the cup, you see the colors of the Indian flag. It's the most extraordinary design. So when 2 children of a very good friend of mine said, we want to, the Somani family must listen to this, that we want to develop ceramics. And they had designs of all the Wedgwood and every other company in the world. I said, look, let's do the story of India, and I will steer the project. So they made me an advisor, and that's the kind of plates that we are doing. This is the pankha. So all these plates really tell you the story of India. That's jewelry. These are all plates. And then I went and told Michael that, look, our food is different. So can you design plates for our food? We have mosquitoes, we have flies. So can you have a gauze to put on the food? So that was a gauze that could really be washed. Then I said, what about the roti? It gets a little soggy because there is no cross ventilation. So that was a kind of dish for the chapati. And finally, we eat rice and biryani. And I said, what about something, and this is always a special occasion, what about something special for a dish? So that was the dish for the biryani. We have spoken yesterday about Bijoy Jain, and I want to speak about him again today. He has an office in Alibag, and he built this house which has been bought by Anand Mahindra, the chairman of Mahindras. The living room and study are in the north volume, while the south volume consists of the kitchen, dining and the guest room. It's built in wood. There is a traditional interlocking joinery. Interior surfaces are with IPS and pigmented plaster. And while this example might not showcase interiors in the traditional sense, it represents a growing trend within the evolution of Indian design. The inside molds with the exterior, and it represents a modern look of residential design, and this is also really part of this idea of branding design. Another friend, Amrish, who did this showroom, took the idea of the lotus, took the idea of the jali, and then the jali and the lotus, actually appear in various forms in his interior. And then when he was asked to do a hotel in Jodhpur, he looked at, it was just below Mehrangarh, he looked at the color blue of the city, he looked at the idea of the jali, and really the jali, a very simple jali in stone, determines the exterior, determines the interior, and reflects the culture of the place. So that is a picture of the hotel with Mehrangarh at the back. It is completely, you cannot mistake it. It is modern, it is rooted in its context, and it is that new brand of design. So that is one kind of design. This is another designer, Pinakin Patel, very conscious of the fact that we sit folded with our legs, as you can see in the middle, his understanding of a contemporary sofa, and it is a pleasure to eat food at his home, which is also served on a thal in this extraordinary setting. So these are other architects, other designers understanding of what is this brand of culture. I also believe, and we have some extraordinary people in the room who are not from our country, that we have to respect the value that they bring into design. And I'm going to show you some of the architects abroad who have helped brand the architecture of their country, not of the place, of their country. So let's take someone like Janine Benes, who talks about biomimicry. She says that why don't we learn from nature? How does a chipkali climb and a vertical surface, including glass, and how does that glue stick? Can we find out the pigments of the colors of the wings of a butterfly? And this provoked a friend of mine, Mick Pierce, who built in Zimbabwe based on the termite mound, and did this building in Melbourne, which is the greenest building in the southern hemisphere. Another story, a friend, a white African, who was asked by Mandela to do the FIFA World Stadium, and he was conscious of the fact that he was white, Mandela was black, there was a black president, there was a white football team, and Mandela was trying to use this to bring the whites and blacks together. So he took his inspiration from a container, and this container then became the container for the actual building, and it's a pot, and people share it. As you can see, it's actually a pot where they put beer inside, and that became his building. He wrapped an existing stadium and used the space inside to stir the imagination of the world, and that is the stadium. And these are panels. They are 120 vertical bays. They're done in the color of earth, and that is what the stadium looks like in the day, and that's what the stadium looks like at night. So I think that it is very important that here this stadium captured the heritage and the brand of South Africa. Another white architect, again in South Africa, and he was given a piece of land in the Kruger National Park, 30,000 hectares of land. And the government said, you build a building, but in 20 years I want that building to be removed, and there must be no evidence that there ever was a building in this very special place. And in return for this, you will make 800 kilometers of dirt track in the Kruger National Park. So here was this building. It's like a bird's nest, beautiful materials, very, very organic, very simple, lifted off the ground. It only costs $1,000 a night, and that's where he makes his money to do those 800 kilometers of dirt track. But just to tell you that I think it is very important that this idea of branding can also happen. I want to show you another example. Ye light band karo. Kya ho raha hai? Band karo. I want to show you another example. This is a young boy, a very young boy from the poorest country in the world, also Africa. And he went to study architecture in Germany, raised $50,000, made a building of 3 rooms with mud, and used the material of that country, to rebrand architecture, and won the Aga Khan Award for architecture. Sound. क्या कर रहे हो आप?
I would like to show you how architecture has helped to change the life of my community and have opened opportunities to hope. I am a native of Burkina Faso. According to the World Bank, Burkina Faso is one of the poorest countries in the world. But what does it look like to grow up in a place like that? I am an example of that. I was born in a little village called Gando. In Gando, there was no electricity, no access to clean drinking water, and no school. But my father wanted me to learn how to read and write. For this reason, I have to leave my family when I was 7 and to stay in a city far away from my village with no contact to my family. In this place, I sat in a class like that with more than 150 other kids, and for 6 years. And this time, it just happened to me to come to school to realize that my classmate was died. Today, not so much has changed. There is still no electricity in my village. People still die in Burkina Faso, and access to clean drinking water is still a big problem. I had a luck. I was lucky because this is fact of life when you grow up in a place like that. But I was lucky. I had a scholarship. I could go to Germany to study. So now, I suppose I don't need to explain to you how great a privilege it is for me to be standing before you today. From Gando, my home village in Burkina Faso, to Berlin in Germany to become an architect is a big step. So, but what to do with this privilege? Since as a student, I wanted to open up better opportunities to other kids in Gando. I just wanted to use my skills and build a school. But how do you do when you're still a student and you don't have money? Oh yes, I started to make drawings and ask for money. Fundraising was not an easy task. I even asked my classmate to spend less money on coffee and cigarette, but to sponsor my school project. You will wonder, 2 years later, I was able to collect 50,000 US dollars. When I came home to Gando to bring the good news, my people was over the moon. But when they realized that I was planning to use clay, they were shocked. A clay building is not able to stay in a rainy season, and Francis wanted us to use it and build a school. Is this the reason why he spent so much time in Europe studying instead of working on the field with us? My people build all the time with clay, but they don't see any innovation with man. So I have to convince everybody. I started to speak with the community, and I could convince everybody, and we could start to work. And the women, the men, everybody from the village was part of this building process. I was allowed to use even traditional techniques. So clay floor, for example, the young man comes and say like that, beating. Hours for hours, and then their mother comes, and they beat in this position for hours, giving water and beating, and then the polisher comes. They start polishing it with a stone for hours, and then you have this result, very fine, like a baby bottom. It's now Photoshop. This is the school built with the community. The walls are totally made out of compressed clay blocks from Gando. The roof structure is made.
So that was an absolutely extraordinary building, 3 rooms. It changed the history of the country. His grandparents went back to school, and this redefined the architecture of his country. An Indian living in New York, working with Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, was asked to do a building in India, and again took the idea of the lotus, said he had to build a tower, took the form, was a green architect, worked on how this tall building could really become a green building, and this was the kind of image that he had. This was his idea of brand architecture, brand India, based on the heritage of India. Another friend, Min Suk, who's just won the award for the Venice Biennale, said that can we own less and share more? So if you see the kind of buildings that are coming up in Noida, are coming up on the way from the airport in Calcutta, these are all potential so-called new cities, smart cities. That's what they're going to look like if we are not smart. So if he says that unlike the image you see on my left, that you own everything, if we could own less, as you see in that circular building, and share more, which is the black area, then maybe our buildings will start looking different. So I think that not only are we going to have to change our architecture to brand it with our heritage, we will also have to change the behavioral patterns that we got used to. I was asked to do a project in Noida the other day. It was going to be the tallest building in India, residential tower, 83 stories high, 5 bedroom and 6 bedroom, and we estimated or guesstimated the parking of 2 cars per flat. In a design charrette in front of 26 consultants of mine, my client called me an idiot. I almost walked off the project. He said, "You're an idiot. Your calculation is wrong." And I said, "What is wrong?" "I have 2 cars per flat." He said, "You idiot," he used that word again, "I want 1 car per bedroom." There were, I don't know, a few hundred 6-bedroom apartments. We would have had to have 8,000 cars. That's not going to be helpful. So when you remember the idea of heritage and brand India and this idea of smart cities, we will also have to change our attitude to the way we use energy. Look at this room. This room cannot be used unless you put on these 300 lights. There is something wrong with the architecture of this room. There is no way this room can be accessible to the outside light and be daylit. So I think it is very important to look at that, and this architect goes on to say that if you take away a certain amount of greenery from the land. In fact, in this little house that he did, he's got 182% of the site area which he's been able to green, and that he continues to do in his other projects as well. If you really want to look at a branding of architecture, I think we must look at Sri Lanka. This is Geoffrey Bawa, and he has not only changed our perception of how subtropical buildings should be formed, but he's also created the global phenomenon of tropical modernism. When he took me on this staircase himself, and I said, Geoffrey, what is this? He said, this is the story of the history of the War of Gaul. So he used a staircase to revive and to rekindle in your memory the idea of how they won their freedom. So I am trying to say that not only is the architecture of our heritage a brand, but it will also remind us of this extraordinary heritage and our culture which actually makes us who we are. And therefore the house he did for the president of Sri Lanka is as simple as this and as beautiful, where the inside, and this is another project of his, where the inside and outside merge and the natural and the man-made really become one. I think that we must look at other countries. We must respect, for example, these Danish architects in Bangladesh who have taken this school building, have made it out of mud and bamboo, have actually built it themselves, have built it with the kids, have built it with the teachers, have built it with their parents, and this is the school that is ultimately going to change the lives of these people. So if we are going to talk about rebranding and of heritage, we must also be talking about changing lives. And you know, this Roman poet Ovid, born 43 years before the birth of Christ, wrote that in our leisure we reveal the kind of people we are. And I think we must also remember this, because always in our leisure we are trying to do things and that is not really in sync with who we are and what we believe. On another note, a friend of mine has rebranded, I mean not a country, not design, but toilets. And this is Jean-Marie Marceau, who's very well known for his brand of Axo. Another very good friend who is leading the world of design. And you know, the bathrooms that you get in Bali, and our own Pradeep Bhargav, who has done this extraordinary idea of his understanding of rebranding a toilet at Bandhavgarh. Adrian Zacher of the Aman Resorts goes to a country and produces the architecture of place. This is at Ranthambore, which is his tent camp, and at Aman Bagh, which is a garden. He is trying to reproduce a contemporary Haveli, his understanding of an interpretation of a grand Haveli, and use of materials and the patterns that he has. Vivek Saini has done the interiors of Devigarh in a very contemporary fashion, and then looked at how you can marry tradition with modernity. I found this abandoned fort and convinced Mr. Kamath, it was lying somewhere outside Pune in Jadavgarh, and convinced him to actually let me make a hotel, keeping the basic structure and just adding discreetly the buildings within the walls. In another project in the palace at Dungarpur, we took the elements of the palace, we took the elements of the kind of materials that they used and created this pool which overlooked the lake. In India, in many ways, our culture is defined by our traditions. These traditions consist of values coupled with the fusion of society and values that have influenced our civilization for centuries. You must remember this. Our ancestors believed that it was better to live with the land and not on it. To live with the land and not on it. And the evidence can still be seen in our buildings, in our temples, in our forts, and cities that have stood the test of time. And please remember, while limiting their imprint on the environment, these practices were not based on the state-of-the-art inventions. Instead, our forefathers relied on simplicity and the understanding to build sustainable structures far before the word green was publicized or trademarked by the West. They built cities with materials from surrounding areas, They used mud, stone and brick to control climate. They developed irrigation, aqueducts and water wells before the birth of Rome. Our culture progressed, but we stayed dedicated and connected to these traditions. And I think this is a message I want to give to the architects, that we can have a parampara, we can continue with the tradition, but we must stay connected to these very precious values. Our style of building utilized the vernacular and maintained our connection with the environment. Our ancestors always honored the environment, and we must continue to do the same. I was given this site when I was 23, Champaner. It has been my inspiration. It has taught me the value of heritage and the moral values of our ancestors. The idea of the jali, the courtyard, I have now used in my designs, locally sourced material, and it is this fusion of past and present that I try to create in my own work. So I just say to you that, for example, you can bring in daylight into the building. All our buildings now are 100% daylit. And in other words, I think we must strive to make our buildings act smarter, whilst not working to work harder. Your buildings to act smarter by not needing to make it work harder. And I was very happy when President Kalam came and laid my platinum plaque. We were the first people in the world to win this plaque. I'm going to not work on this. I just want to, this is the building I did in Hyderabad, which then became the greenest building in the world. We use ideas from the past. I want to say that as all of us Indians, we are connected to our past, a past which is marked both good and bad, because we have been ruled by many empires. But as a people, we have never forgotten what it means to be Indian. The heritage of our past, the very values and principles of our people are based on these morals and traditions of our history. Our values, our architecture, our interiors are all based in these traditions. We have not changed our heritage, but adapted these to modern applications. This is not the reinvention of an idea, but the lessons learned from it. A concept that is present in every modern culture and serves as the very foundation of modern design: creativity, imagination, and innovation. You must remember that the more you use tradition, as the pyramid on the left suggests, the less you have to use active systems, and the more you ignore it, the more you have to use active systems. So I just said that for 30 years, while working on this World Heritage Site, I've tried to use the lessons in all the buildings that I've done, from this vernacular building for the tribals in Tejgarh, to the wind towers in the Institute of Quality in Bangalore, to the platinum rated building of the Green Business Center in Hyderabad. This was our first building. We did not know anything about green buildings then. We used the idea of the wind towers to reduce the temperature by 11 degrees Celsius. It was the first non-air conditioned project and became the IIA SNOSEM Award for Excellence in Corporate Architecture that year. So I just feel that design can play a very important part. Here you see a building. We lost this building, Paryavaran Bhavan, but what we did in this building was to prove that if you take design, and I'm trying to show that good design and not only technology actually reduces the amount of energy that we need. So everything from lighting, space and efficiency to create optimal solutions, and we were able to save 15 crores in 10 years just on the electricity bill alone. I want to just show you this building. This is the new building for the Vidhan Sabha at Naya Raipur. We are one of 3 architects have been selected out of 9 architects. We are trying to re-establish the kind of tradition and interpretation and modernity that Raipur should have. I'm very disappointed with the buildings that I see in Raipur. And the first question the Chief Secretary asked me, he said, "What about these lovely modern buildings you have? They have nothing to do with your building." And I said, "Sir, you have got to rethink your modern buildings." Because he wanted me to match my buildings to the buildings that he had. I think as Indians it is our responsibility to honor the memories of our ancestors. We have an obligation to fight for the history that defines us and the future that will set us apart. We must remember our heritage and honor our ancestors. We must look to the people next for help within ourselves and wish to be the change that you wish to see in others. It is the presence of hope that lies at the very core of our values. We must be proud of our heritage. We must pass this down as it has been passed down to us. Our passion can only be contained if we allow ourselves to fall victim to fear and disbelief. So challenge yourselves to be better and to do more, to put the needs of others before the excessive wants of a few, to strive for every excellence in everything you do, to create passionate solutions to complex problems, and by all means use all your imagination. Do your best to greet the rising sun each day devoid of all regret and bask in the warmth of hope that surrounds you. This is our time. You've been told this morning, both by the three speakers before me, that this is our time. So if we have renewed vigor, focused on compassion and enlightenment, we must lead the path, we must lead the way, and fight for the warmth that we so frequently find in the hearts of others. Thank you very much.